Well, here we are once again. I'm asking you to do me a favor. Like I keep saying, it doesn't cost you anything. It only takes a moment, but it means the world to me. So if you could just take a moment to do this for me, I would really appreciate it. Hit the subscription button and the like button and help me to keep things rolling here. Okay? I will see you soon. Okay. This is Alligator in Alignment. I'm not doing music today. I just wanted to stop by because, oh boy, I had not wanted to do a bunch of political stuff. I mean, I really was trying to not do it because what I had to do after the election was over last time, I had to go back into my podcast and delete all of the political podcasts that I did because, why? And it seems like I'm going to have to do it again because things are getting out of hand. The president has said that he wants to execute Democrats for reminding the soldiers of their oath that they are not supposed to obey an illegal order. Now, if they think a order is illegal, they don't just not obey it. They check with the legal part of the military. And if they decide that an order is illegal, the soldiers are obligated not to obey the order. And if they do obey an order that they know is illegal, they are prosecuted and sent to prison. Okay? So, one side of this aisle just takes things and just makes a mockery of everything. Now, why are you going to execute someone for saying something that is really true? It is in the military manual. It's true. And before they said it, months before they said it, General Miley said it. He said the soldiers have to remember that it's their constitutional duty to never obey an illegal order. They have to take it to the legal system in the government and file a complaint. And if that complaint says that the thing is illegal, then they are duty bound by their oath not to engage in that. And if they do, they are court-martialed and they go to prison. If they refuse to obey a legal order, it's basically the same thing, except they might lose their rank or be put out of the service, but they don't go to prison. If you obey what you know is an illegal order, you are criminalized and you're court-martialed. You go to prison. So the Democrats who were saying that, let's face it, they were only telling the truth. Nobody was saying that Trump has given an illegal order, which he probably has, but nobody was saying that. They were just reminding the soldiers that their oath is to the Constitution. They do not swear an oath to the president or anybody else. So what's the big hoopla about it? It's just like the No Kings protest. The excuses I had for the big hullabaloo about the No Kings process, and I've heard these Republicans say it over and over again. Why are they having a No Kings protest? Donald King is not a king. Nobody in that protest ever said that Donald Trump was a king. Nobody said it. They see the direction he's headed in, and they said, we don't want a king. Now, the people who are against the No Kings protest, they are telling you they want a king. Because every American who knows the Constitution and the military rules and all of this stuff, anybody who knows it, realize that, hey, we don't want a king. We're not saying he is a king. We're saying we don't want a king, so we don't want him to cross that line. What is wrong with that? I remember when the Gold Star the Gold Star family and Trump were having this little thing, and the member of the Gold Star family asked Trump something about the Constitution, and Trump couldn't answer. And he pulled the Constitution out of his pocket. He said, Mr. President, I have the Constitution right here. I've read it. And I think maybe you should read it too. Who thinks Donald Trump has ever read the Constitution of the United States? Nobody can say positively. But I would almost bet money that man has never read it. He's never read it. And if he has, then that's even dirtier. You know? So all of this hoopla about stuff, you're going to execute Democrats for speaking to the military the truth that is in the military manual. And like I say, General Milley had said it first. Why didn't they go and execute him? This thing with Donald Trump wanting to be a Putin and Kim Jong-un type guy. Remember what he said when the Chinese guy said, I'm not going to have any more elections. I'm going to be president for life. And Donald Trump sat behind the emblem of the presidency at the podium and said, yeah, Mr. Xi is a strong leader. He's a smart man, and he's going to be president for life. And you know what? I think that's what America needs. Okay. That didn't alarm you? All I'm saying is that we have to look at what is going on. We have to look at what is going on. I have always predicted these guys. Bush the second. When he was running for president, I told a friend of mine in Berkeley, I said, I like George Bush. He's a funny guy. And we must admit he's a funny guy. And I don't really think he was really a bad person either. But I told him, I said, if he gets elected, I'm going to tell you what he's going to do. He's in competition with his dad, like a lot of sons are in competition with their dad. And his dad was president when Colin Powell developed the Colin Powell doctrine, which says if you're going to go to war, don't piecemeal. Go in with overwhelming force. Don't leave the enemy a rock to hide under. And that's what Schwarzkopf did to Hussein. They went in there with overwhelming force and just did it. I can't understand why people are still following someone who has said, when Kim Jong-un, first he said, we're in love. He writes me love letters and this and that. And he's demonizing all of our allies and saying that they've taken advantage of this. And the first thing he did when he got in, which turned me against him, was, why do we need to be in NATO? Let's dismantle NATO. Let's pull out of NATO. Blah, blah, blah. And I, like a lot of people who are informed, my first thought was, wait a minute. If he's talking about doing that, who does that benefit? It doesn't benefit the United States or any of our allies. NATO was formed after World War II to keep dictators from invading countries and letting them know that if you do, we will come for you. And it kept the peace. I mean, there's been little wars here and there, but it's kept the peace for over 80 years. and he gets in and he wants to pull out of NATO or dismantle NATO and blah, 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 and all this stuff, and praises all of our enemies. A real good example of that is when he brought Putin over here and put out a red carpet for someone who, before he brought him to the White House, when he first got in, nobody wanted anything to do with Putin. He gave him a spotlight and brought him back into the public. And he's got a red carpet and he's clapping as Putin is coming. Has he ever done that for any of our allies? Anything close like that? No. The guy, this ballroom he's building, do you think he's building that ballroom? What do you think he's building it for? He plans to stay. Steve Bannon has said that, and many other people involved with the 2025 plan, which was 100% put together for the Trump presidency. He plans to stay. That ballroom with all of that gaudy stuff and looks like a Saudi Arabian palace, like he had that crook, the prince. And what did he say when they chopped up the and he was an American journalist. We got to remember that. He was an American journalist working for an American newspaper. And they told him, don't go back to Saudi Arabia. But the guy was brave, and he went back. He went into the building, and he came out in pieces. All of the free world condemned the prince, except one, Donald Trump. He defended him. And after he defended him, he said, the Saudi Arabian prince owes me because I saved his ass, he said. And right after that, his son-in-law did a $9 billion deal with the Saudis. And we must remember the Saudis were partially responsible for 9/11. They were involved. I am having a hard time understanding how come Americans are walking around blind. Every time I see a speech of his, I fact check everything. When he says something, I go right to my phone, because it only takes you about 5 seconds to say what you want, and it pops up on the screen. And I see that the man lies constantly. And he didn't just start this. We've got to realize that he had a notorious reputation for lying and cheating long before he went into politics. They pull one of those things like they have done many times to prove discrimination. They have done this many times. He was just one of them. They sent a black person into his housing, and he was there. And they wanted to rent an apartment, and they were not poor people on welfare. These were professionals, doctors, lawyers, or whatever they were. And he told them right immediately, there's no openings anymore. There's no openings anymore. So the man left, and they immediately sent a white person in right after him. This was the plan. And as soon as the white person sat down, Donald Trump says, okay, and he's ready to, And him and his dad were sued for discrimination many times, and they always lost. This is the guy who is the president of the United States, and if you think he's building that ballroom because he expects to leave the ballroom, no. He's building that because he wants to be like his buddy Putin and Kim Jong-un, the guy who he's in love with. And everybody but our allies. Remember, he never uttered the statement that Ukraine invaded Russia until he had a meeting with Putin, and he walked out of the meeting and said what Putin said. And now his plan for the Ukraine war gives Vladimir Putin everything that he wanted. And at this point, the Ukrainian president is saying no. And I hope he sticks to it, because Europe and other countries are saying that they will back him. Donald Trump is looking for an excuse to stop. Like I said, getting back to George Bush. I forgot that. I told people, I said, here's what this guy's going to do. Like sons are often in competition with their fathers. His father won a war. And trust me, I told people when he was running, I said, when that guy gets in office, the first thing he's going to do is going to start a war because he wants to outdo his dad. And that's exactly what he did. Bill Clinton, for all of his faults, was a good president. He not only paid down our national debt. When Clinton left office, America had a surplus of money. And Bush went through that money in no time. Next thing you know, we got a big deficit again. But I told people he's going to start a war because he wants to compete with his dad. I told people months ago that Donald Trump is afraid of the midterms. And I said one of the things he's going to do is he's going to start a war. Because Zelensky said, when he accused Zelensky of being a dictator, Zelensky told him, I can't have a presidential election during a war because the Ukrainian constitution forbids it. And I told people right then, I said, he's going to use that. And right after that, what did he do? He started bombing boats going into, he said, we're bringing drugs to America. And like I said in another podcast, I'm going to have to repeat it. If he had any proof that there were drugs on that boat, and he has none, he has not been able to provide any evidence of anything that he says. The smart thing to do, that boat could never have made it to America without stopping many times for fuel. Track the boat. We have the technology. Track the boat, and when the boat goes into a port to get fuel, especially from a country friendly to us, and most of the countries out there are, alert the authorities. This boat's coming in the port. We have evidence that there's drugs on the boat. Search the boat, and that would have solved the problem. But no, he had no evidence. He wants to push Venezuela into a war and use that war to say, well, we can't have the midterms, we can't have this because we're at war, and we can't supply Ukraine with weapons or any other assistance because we're busy at a war. That's his plan. That's his plan, and he's carrying it out. Like I said, this plan that he has to end the Ukrainian war, Zelensky has already said that's a no-go. Why are you going to reward Putin, who invaded Ukraine? And here's another little thing that people don't know. They have phone records that when Zelensky, when Putin was massing his troops on the border of Ukraine, before they went in, him and Donald Trump were on the phone together. And some of those phone calls lasted a couple of hours. He was on the phone with Putin. He knew what Putin was going to do. And everything he has done since he got into office has been to benefit Vladimir Putin. Nobody can say that that's not true. Nobody who's paid attention. So when we have a guy who, here's what I want you Republicans out there to say. What would you have done if Joe Biden had said he didn't like something that the Republicans said, even though it was true? And what the Democrats said about not obeying an illegal order. It's in the military manuals. It's a part of the military law. So it was true. And he wants to kill him for telling the truth. What if Joe Biden had did that? The Republicans would have been out of their minds for it. But Donald Trump does it, and they're silent. Except for certain Republicans are quitting the party because of him. And even that crazy woman, Marjorie Taylor Greene, is even standing up. But don't trust her, okay, because she has ulterior motives. She knows Trump is going down, and she's hoping to get the base herself. And believe me, she wouldn't be as bad as Trump, but she would be quite a horrible person to be in power, because she will immediately go back to her former personality before she decided to do the switch. And she only switched because Trump stopped supporting her. He wouldn't let her run for governor of wherever she wanted. So anyway, enough of this. I ask America to please pay attention. And Republicans, like I hate to repeat myself, but like I say, I watched a thing on television where a guy, those people who go to the Trump rallies and sticks the mic in people's faces and asks questions, asked this man, why didn't you vote for Kamala Harris? And he said something that she did which he thought was horrible, so he wouldn't vote for her. And the gentleman was smart enough to keep the mic in his face and say, okay, what if Donald Trump had did the same thing? What would you think of that? He said, oh no, that wouldn't be bad because he's a patriot. You Republicans have got to stop that. You got to stop that. This man is a danger to our country. Our military leaders have said that repeatedly. They have come out, and they've never had to do that for any president in history. But they have come out repeatedly and say he's a danger to our democracy. But the foment at the, like I say, not all Republicans are bad. I got many Republican friends who just have been duped and are sort of cult-like now. But I will repeat this. Not all Republicans are Nazis, but all Nazis are Republicans. Not all Republicans are white supremacists and white nationalists, but they are all Republicans. Not all Republicans are Confederate flag huggers, but all of them are Republicans. Not all Republicans are Ku Klux Klan members, but all Klan members are Republicans. Can you imagine a Democratic rally and Nazi flags show up, Confederate flags, white supremacist flags? Can you imagine that? The Democrats would not put up with that. The Republicans accept endorsements from Nazis and Klan and all of those hate groups. Do you think the Democrats would accept an endorsement from any of those people? The Klan would never seek. George Duke did one time, tried that, and they, get out of here. The Democrats would never accept the endorsements of Nazis, white supremacists, Ku Klux Klan members, and all of those things. But the Republicans march lockstep with them and welcome them with open arms. Is there a difference between the parties? I would say so. This is Alligator in Alignment. Let's hope. Already some of the people who he said should be killed for telling the truth only. Telling the truth. They have already received bomb threats. And I wouldn't be surprised if some right-wing idiot goes out and harms some of them. And you got to remember that fact check everything. If you listen to the right, oh, the radical left, they're violent, they're this and that, and blah, 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 blah. Bullshit. The facts are very clear that 76% of all political violence is caused by the right. 10% or 12% of political violence is by the left. And the rest is by Islamic terrorists and people like that. So even the Islamic terrorists are a less of a threat to America than the far right, because they commit 76% of all the violence. But Donald Trump will get on television and tell you something different. And you idiots who just eat up anything that he says, you believe that? Fact checking is the way to go. You can do it in 5 seconds. If he says something, go to your phone and say, hey, blah, 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 and they will pull it up and show you he's lying. Every time I see him do a speech, I do that. Like I said, at that 60-minute speech, Lawrence said that he had 10 of the worst lies he told. Well, I had all 18 of them. And he did that in 72 minutes. And you got to realize the interviewer was talking. He wasn't talking for 72 minutes. How do you tell 18 lies in half of 72 minutes? Even his sister, who was a federal judge, when his niece had the tape recorder on and was talking to her, she said herself, Donald has always lied. She said, Daddy taught him that. He's always lied. He paid the smart kids to take his tests. He couldn't have got into the military academy without the smart kids taking his tests. And how did he get out of the army? With that bone spurs thing? Guess who the doctor who gave him that referral is? He worked for his daddy. And we know, like, what was it? John Fogerty of Creedence Clearwater. His song, I'm Not a Fortunate Son. We know that the rich kids always got out of their service because of the money. That's the reason that when Obama was running for president, I voted for John McCain. Not because I didn't like Obama, because John McCain, the man, had shown that he was a real American. And although he was conservative, he was definitely a conservative, but he stood up for what was right, and he went against the conservatives many times. He saved Obamacare. Obamacare was on his way out, and John McCain walked out into the thing, and all the Republicans were smiling because they just knew they had it, and he went thumbs down. Remember when Donald Trump had started the birther thing? Do we forget how racist that man is? Oh, he was born he's in Kenya. He's a Muslim and blah 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 blah. And when the woman said that at John McCain's speech, she said, "Yeah, he's a Muslim." And she snatched the microphone from her and said, "No, that's not true. He's a good Christian family man and blah blah blah." He said, "We may disagree on certain things, but no, he wasn't born. He was born in the United States. He was born in Hawaii. Blah 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 blah." John McCain, when he was in the prison camp in Vietnam, and they found out that he was a senator's son or admiral's son, whatever it was, and they told him, "You can go home." Why? Because they wanted to use him for propaganda. You can go home. And John McCain said he refused to leave. unless he left with all of his men. And he suffered years of torture, beatings and torture, and was crippled for the rest of his life because he would not leave his men behind and come home and give the Viet Cong propaganda. There was a time when John McCain, that's Weasel Lindsey Graham, Joe Biden, all of these guys from working on different aisles, they were all friends. John McCain and Joe Biden were really close. They had family dinners together, went on picnics together, family gatherings and stuff. And then John McCain would turn over in his grave if he saw what his sidekick, Lindsey Graham, is doing now. Anyway, wake up. This is Alligator in Alignment. I'm not going to go rambling on any longer. Just wake up. Those of you who have problems with media stuff, I finally hooked up with Friday Night Designs in New Jersey. Check them out. They can help you to increase your presence on the internet, to get more viewers, and just help you to really get in the fast lane. And I will be in there soon. We're going to do it earlier, but the owner had a medical emergency and had to have an operation, so that stalled it for a while. But now he's better. And he and I have already made an agreement that starting in December, we start this thing to get Alligator in Alignment from the very few views that I have, put me into the fast lane where more people can hear me. Anyway, this is Alligator in Alignment. I will probably be at the same location the second Saturday of the month in Monterey, 794 Lighthouse Avenue. Even though the place is changing to a different name and different owners, I will likely be still performing there. I will let you know about that later. This is Alligator in Alignment. Happy trails.